The feeling of bloating is not always from eating too much at the dinner table, right? Abdominal bloating is quite common. Estimated 30%, 30% of the US adult population experience this kind of bothersome feeling. Listen, if it's Thanksgiving and you've had this giant meal, of course it's normal to be bloated, but there are folks who feel bloated all the time. Yeah, everyone, Dr. Partha Nandi, talking about something a lot of my patients ask me, hey, why is my stomach so bloated? For people who suffer from this, it's not just annoying, right? It can also be uncomfortable, painful, change the way you live your life. There are people who choose their jobs, choose what they do based on that. They don't go out with friends and, because they're afraid of what's going to happen. What's actually happening? When bloating happens, this occurs. Your gastrointestinal tract is typically filled with air or gas, right? The GI tract, when I talk about that, is from your mouth all the way to your anus, right? And when you're bloated, you feel as if you've eaten this giant meal and there's no room in your stomach. What are some symptoms, right? Your stomach feels full and tight. Your abdomen physically can look larger. I've had patients that have given me pictures, and you can see your abdomen fill up, right? So it's important to know that. And when you're bloated, you could also burp or pass gas from below frequently. And sometimes it provides relief, but sometimes it does not. What causes bloating? Here are some behaviors, right, that can lead to gas. And some actually may be quite surprising. Talking while eating food. What happens? You're swallowing in air, right? All of us are like, but the Italian in me comes out when I talk, like when I eat, rather. I'm eating and I'm talking and I'm talking. We don't want you to be antisocial, but if you have this problem, maybe don't do that. Eating food when you're mad or upset. What you're doing is you're eating more than you should and you're not really mindful eating. Smoking or chewing tobacco. People may not know that. Using a straw or drinking from a sports bottle. Why? Introducing air into your abdomen and your GI tract. Deep sighing. Consuming very hot or very cold drinks. Chewing gum. Drinking from a water fountain. Again, one of the ones we want to talk about is wearing tight-fitting clothing. And lastly, taking cold relief medications for too long. Interesting, right? Overeating or eating too much too quickly can cause bloating because your digestive system, right, slows down when you're trying to process a large or fast intake of food. Now, here's some foods that can lead to gas. First on the list, will not surprise you, right? Beans. I love beans and legumes, so I want to talk about how we can get past that, how we can have the foods that we love and are good for you and not have to worry about, hey, is this going to bother me, right? Then you have broccoli, cabbage, onions. These are foods that we recommend. They're great vegetables, and I think they really can help you. They can also sometimes lead to gas. Carbonated beverages, so we call it pop or soft drinks, sparkling water, carbonated wine, apple juice, prune juice, fried and fatty foods. Also spicy foods can cause that. Dried fruits. And also low-carb or sugar-free stuff that contains what? These are things that are not absorbed. Sorbitol, mannitol, or maltitol. So these are all low-carb or sugar-free foods. They just don't get absorbed, so they produce gas. Eating processed foods that are high in sodium, what does that do? Your body retains water and can cause your stomach to feel bloated. Sugary foods and snacks kind of break down your body, can make you feel gassy. Healthy foods like broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage can make people feel bloated. Why? These items contain sugars and starches that can cause gassiness and bloating, even though they're good for you. If you have a food allergy or intolerance, you may feel these symptoms after eating food containing wheat, lactose, fruit, or eggs. Bloating can also occur when your digestive system slows down and you don't have regular bowel movements. The longer your stool stays in your colon, the more time bacteria have to ferment what's there so that it results in more gas and bloating. Irritable bowel syndrome. This is thrown out all the time, this term. Irritable bowel syndrome is a common disorder that affects the stomach and intestines. And bloating can result from increased gas production from bacterial fermentation of undigested food and retarded gas transit. What that means is slowing down of the gas transit and heightened sensitivity of the gut to normal gas. So meaning that you may have the same amount of gas, and what happens is that amount of gas can cause you to feel like you're bloated or uncomfortable. SIBO, fancy word thrown out all the time, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And SIBO occurs when bacteria from the large intestine migrate into the small intestine. Why is that important? Because the bugs that go into the small intestine have all this food. Small intestine has all this food that it's digesting, and it can break those down and then cause the gas. Gastropareisis, fancy word. It's a condition that affects the normal movement of the muscles in your stomach. Ordinarily, there's strong muscular contractions pushing the food through your digestive tract. But if you have this gastropareisis, oftentimes diabetics can have it, but sometimes even without diabetes. If you have gastropareisis, your stomach's motility or movement is slowed down or doesn't work at all, preventing your stomach from emptying properly. Endometriosis. How many of you have endometriosis? Talking about the uterus. And if it attaches to the stomach or intestines, that can cause bloating, cramping, and abdominal pain. There are also medical causes. Important to know this. Inflammatory bowel disease, such as Crohn's disease, right? Things like acid reflux can cause heartburn and bloating. Now, what about enzyme depletion? What is that all about, right? So sometimes medications can contribute to side effects that stem from low, for example, acid production. Sometimes can lead to poor mineral absorption and poor absorption even of B12. Estimated 30% of Americans may suffer from this, right? Depletion of stomach acid due to medications or age, further compounded by the decline or reduction of enzyme production. It's important to do a colonoscopy. Here's the reason why it's important to do a colonoscopy, because you want to make sure there's no inflammation that can contribute to inflammatory bowel disease or any type of colitis that can lead to your motility or your movement of your intestine that can result in bloating. First line of treatment for preventing gas and bloating is changing your diet. Research has shown something called the FODMAP diet. A low-FODMAP diet can reduce some of the symptoms of bloating and sometimes irritable bowel syndrome. People who are sensitive to FODMAP-rich diets, right? The small intestine doesn't always fully absorb these carbohydrates. Instead, they pass down to the colon and they're fermented, they're broken down by the bacteria, produce gas, you feel like you're bloated. Eat slowly, consume smaller, more frequent meals, chew your foods very well, drink beverages at room temperature, have your dentures checked for good fit because you want to make sure you chew your food well. Increase physical activity during the day. When you're moving, your digestive tract follows quite often. Try recording your symptoms. Write down, hey, this is what happens in a journal. Note your diet. Note your hormonal factor, stress factor. Lipase, amylase from the pancreas helps to digest food. Lactase and cerulase and protease, that helps in the digestion of the protein starches. And fiber, gentian root. It's a traditional bitter herb as well as artichoke, which is a natural choleritic, which means that it helps the body stimulate what? The natural production of enzymes and bile. Remember, bile is used to digest the fats that you have. If you're digesting the food, it's not going to your bacteria, not making bad bacteria worse, not producing the gas. To me, making better use of your body to be able to digest the carbohydrates and removes the food source for these bad bugs. I welcome all of you to give me some questions, give us your comments, tell us where you're from. Don't be shy.